Okay, friends, welcome back. And today I am excited about this podcast and also nervous at the same time because I feel like it's vulnerable. I feel like it's one of those topics that like you feel like you gotta go and then tomorrow something bad happens, especially with teenagers.
Uh,
And you're like,
what do you have? What do you have to?
I mean, it feels like you can jinx it.
And the thing is, it's not really meant to be a one-way conversation. I think, and I actually try to observe as much as I can, and I really see like, hey, every child is so different. And I know we talked about relationship before. I think every relationship is different. There are fundamentals that I would argue are very important, but there are, and techniques we can talk about children are very important. But I mean, not every child is
The
it's gonna
same.
not the same. Yeah, not every template, you can't just use it as a template. Not every template is gonna work the best, but we do want to share the deep, I think, experiences that we learned. And
Yeah.
because wouldn't you say though, our parenting technique changed so much, I think, from our own parents, right?
So let's start at the very young age. As much as we can remember, our boys are now, just for perspective, are 17 and 15 years
Mhm.
old. So we're dealing with like teenage years. But Tim and I kind of dropped down some notes together and we want to start by like different areas of their life and kind of summarize, I feel like based on age, what we did well during that age for the future foundation. So there are like three things that you said that the child was absolutely not allowed to do. And it's like absolute and no. What were the three things?
So first of all, we have this thing that we adopted, like we don't hit our kids, we don't spank our kids, we don't. And that's something I had to learn not to do because
I
that's the
don't
way I
believe in
was.
spanking
Right.
at all.
I grew up being taught that my dad. I mean, it was very profound.
I
Okay,
feel like I grew up in a household where dad also was spanking, but I was the youngest out of five, so I didn't get
right, and you turned
it.
out okay.
Yeah.
But and I really I stopped doing it. But there was these three rules that I had were the biggest no. I mean, I still so I did like spank kids till the like at the latest, like I think the oldest was 8. I think that's the one that I spanked the latest.
On
But
his birthday.
on his birthday because he broke one of these three rules that I'm going to share. Um, I don't know. I might have done it differently. That's the one thing that I'm not saying you should spank him because I'm leaning towards you shouldn't. But the three big things that
Mhm.
was absolutely no was stealing, lying, and beating your brother. And that's what happened on his, I think it was 8th birthday. He beat his brother and he
Well,
gotten beaten.
beating is like a strong word.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. You know how kids do it? They get really upset and they pour all the energy on it. I mean, there was a hand movement,
So what Tim
but
did is he put him in a car on Jacob's birthday. He put him in a car and he drove home from a park. You spanked him and you brought him back to his birthday
I felt
party.
so bad doing it. But because I grew up, and actually, that was the I was not the best brother when it comes to hitting. Like I hit my brother when I was younger. I would hit him, and like that is why I was like very direct with our two boys. I'm like, aha, I grew up with a brother, and now I have two boys. I have to be careful so they don't hit each other. So I felt very passionate about it. Absolutely no hitting.
I think you do what you do really well and kind of ties in, but not really, is you keep your word. And I think that's a challenge where I don't always keep my word because, moms are always softer.
I feel like most people don't keep their words, and it
Like
ends up
when it
hunting
comes
you
down,
back.
yeah, when it comes down to like disciplining kids, when you
Yeah.
say, when we get home, we're going to do this, my dad kept his word too. Like my dad was really good
I
about
wonder
it.
if it's a guy thing. My
I don't
dad kept
know.
his word. My mom was more lenient, and I knew she had the ways.
She didn't mean
My
it,
mom
right?
spoke with her feelings, and I knew if I can just switch that feeling, I can like switch the results. My dad, no, that's he's calculated. He doesn't
So
have a
knowing that I'm soft-hearted, I actually would not give those promises. I would not say because I want to make sure that kids like think that I'm serious when I am serious. So like when we're at somebody's house, I would never say, when you get home, I'm going to do this. Like I could never even say that because I knew I would not keep the promise. Because like in general, like when you think about, like when I don't know if you have noticed this, but when I think about our lives in general, like I never made those promises that like, but I will make promises like when we get home, you're going to talk to Papa about this. Papa is Tim, dad. And so like I would say, or like when we get home, you're gonna deal with this with Papa. And I guess you were always the bad cop
I ended up being the bad cop.
a
It's
lot of the times. But now it's like it changed. Different
yeah.
seasons it has changed. So I think keeping your word is one of the other fundamental things I think at the young age is so important
Do you
because
know what really helped with keeping the word? Just to add to it, anytime I say something, up until now, they're 15, 17 years old. When I say something, they know I'm not kidding
yeah.
because I actually don't break the word.
It's easier to parent down the road. It's really hard to
Yeah.
stick to it. Like for certain people, like for me, for example, it's hard to stick to it. But like because I'm very forgiving when it comes to kids, and like I said, I think a lot of moms are, and so like you wanna forgive and let it go and blah blah blah. But like keeping your word, if you can do that, like it's one of the best things that you can do because it makes parenting easier later because they do something, you're like, one more warning and this is gonna happen. And they know that means that. I have seen parents that will be just throwing words around and I'm like,
Means nothing.
means nothing. And you're just wasting your energy.
Well,
the
kid
child
would
is just
be
not taking you
laying-
seriously.
Yeah, the kid would be laying on the floor, yelling, hitting, and they're like, I'm going to take this and this away. Nothing. Because you know they're not going to take it away.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat you so hard when we come home. The kid doesn't care.
So I actually think, well, beating so hard when you go.
I know. Or the kid's asking for something, mom says no. He keeps on making a show because he knows that the mom is very soon going to say yes. The more
That's the
you
hard one too. So I guess in cases like that, if you can't keep a word or if you can't stay persistent in your like no, send them to a parent that does this well, but don't do it. Like if you can do anything when you have young kids, hear me out. Keep your word or don't
Absolutely.
promise because it will change your life forever. It's like 17 years later. I think it's one of the greatest things that we have done.
100%. Like it creates order in their lives and it gives you a bit of that authority. Like they know like, oh, you're not kidding. That like, if you're not breaking the rules, they know those rules exist. The moment you start breaking them, those rules no longer exist. I
Yeah.
think that was a big one for us.
You said creates order. Speaking of order, I think, and you can like, I'm gonna start it, but you help me because I feel like I'm starting all these topics.
Yeah.
And we made this list together, so I just reviewed this. So I'm really good at this
I like
right
your
now.
list. I like when you organize it.
So, speaking of organized, one of the other things I think it's very important, especially at a very young age when your kids are getting developed, is creating an order in general in their life. Like messy, chaos, disorganized, including like their to a point of their drawer with like their toothbrush, toothpaste. There should be like no like extra things. Their clothes, you should not overwhelm their closets. It should be very structured because their little brains are still developing. And if they're in chaotic environment, and I know this is really, really, really hard. We have a big house and there's stuff everywhere. And I feel like we became a hoarder family.
Well,
And
it's your definition of a hoarder is somebody else's empty house.
I know, but like I can relate on the level of like I understand it's so hard to keep things organized in order, be a mom and make dinner and go somewhere and do this. But like order one room at a time. Once you create system, it's gonna stick. And like in a
okay, I know you're big on this, but this is interesting. A lot of kids when they see a lot of stuff are like, oh wow, you have everything. You're so lucky. Oh, you have every, I don't know, video game or every activity in the house. Or I know Ethan.
our boys have everything. Like our boys have, for example, games like board games.
Well, but Ethan came home one time with like, hey, my friend has like a foosball table, a ping pong table, a pool table, all that stuff. We don't have anything.
Well,
So-
we had football table and
Right.
they never touched it.
So what is like why do you think that keeping it, and you're minimalist, this is what you were talking about, you literally remove everything that kids do not use.
Okay, no, not everything's minimalist. So, example, we have about 30 board games, but all of them are in this like Ziploc bags that I got from Amazon, and they're all like orderly organized. And kids know when I get that Ziploc bag,
Yeah.
they play and they put it back. That's the order I'm talking about. I'm talking about things like when kids are very young age and there is Legos everywhere, get rid of half of the Legos, hide them somewhere, and then once like
Reintroduce them slowly.
yeah, we introduce different toys slowly. I used to do this when kids were very young. We would get bins from like Costco, and I would hide 90% of their toys. And whenever the bin from we would store in garage, and then I
Yeah.
take one bin at a time. You know, it was like Christmas morning again.
Yeah. I remember that. So I remember that once we had so many toys that kids were like, I don't want to do anything. Or like so many Legos. They're like, I can't build anything because everything is like, it's too confusing. But the moment you limit those Legos and you just leave, like you said, 10%, all of a sudden they start building with it. You're like, oh, only if I had a little more Legos. And then you'd introduce a little more toys, and you would rotate it, and I guess it did add structure to their lives.
It did. And also we created other organizational systems as far as Legos go. You build them this like Lego desk or table that was like had a Lego if anybody wants this, I'll
the
share
Lego
in
panel,
comments.
really?
Yeah, it had like a Lego top, little
Tabletop, so
baskets, tabletop.
I helped you with that. So it had
You
this,
built it.
Yeah. Well, the IKEA built it, and I finished it. So it had the tabletop, like that base, Lego base, so that you can build on it.
On it, yeah.
And so what we did.
And they had little bins on the sides.
Yeah. And what we do, we just rotate it, put that table together, and like, you get rid of other toys, but you introduce this Lego table. And they spent like at least a year on it.
Okay, speaking of this Lego table, so we had this about 15 years ago. Now Costco sells a version of this.
Oh, really?
Not year round, but sometimes they'll bring it in. So if you see at Costco, it's one of the greatest toys. I
It was
highly
really awesome.
recommend it.
It kept all the Legos organized. So that was cool. Yeah. And
We
I guess
actually moved it cross country.
Can I
I
say-
to Tennessee.
that's funny. That's true. But you know what's interesting? Like you're talking about rotating their toys and cleaning them, but I think we have the same structure with their food. And
Yeah.
that really paid back. I know we shared it with you guys many times how we keep the fruits on the bottom where
Like
you
they're
can see
eye
'em,
level.
eye level. And then we keep the candy. Well, right now we don't do it as much, but we usually keep the junk food not at an eye level, so it's not as the first thing you grab.
Temptation. I think it's for adults too. Like it's one of the first temptations that you see is like what you see is your like eye level. So
You
if
get
you
ideas like, oh, I want
yeah,
that.
you can't play
Craving.
mind games with yourself. Like even for me, I'll put vegetables that are eye level, or like the snacks that we have out would be fruits. That way, if I'm munching on something, I'm not grabbing popcorn or cracker, but I'm grabbing fruit if I want to munch on something.
So creating these little organizations, I guess it created like organizations in their own life.
I think it doesn't create chaos, and I think it creates really good habits, including like make your bed every morning. You have to. It takes 1 minute.
I'm good at that. I'm good at like demanding, like, look, I need structure. My dad taught me that. Gosh, when I was 6
But
years
it's
old.
simple.
When I was 6 years old, my dad used to wake me up at 6, and we used to run like 1 mile one way and 1 mile
Sounds
another.
like military training.
It was like military training. He wanted me to like get my life together. And I guess I'm good at that still. I'm like, yeah. Is your bed done? Did you open your curtains up? Did you close them? The youngest
Yeah.
one likes to cheat.
Yeah, he does. And then instead of saying, like, I mean, this is different age group, but instead of saying, hey, you better do it, I asked him even today, I was like, what's a good way to work about on this? Instead of saying, like, you better get it together, I'm like, hey, what's your solution about this? Instead of you giving them solutions, like this is older age, but like asking them for a solution, they make a plan. Like when you make somebody, for example,
When you ask questions instead of
Yeah.
telling them what to do. Like, how do you think you should handle that?
yeah, very true. And like it goes about everything. Like when you say, I am gonna do this, most of the time people will do it. So
You know, another thing that, and I may be drifting off subject,
no,
but it's
that's fine.
okay. It's interesting because I also notice like when we get into when we don't spend enough time with them, we get into this habit of just telling them what to do. Your bed is messy. Your clothes are messy. Are you doing your homework? Why did you stay up last night? But the longer we spend time together, we end up saying less negative things and more positive. Like, hey, wow, you look nice today. And I know there was like a stage in our life when we told each other, we helped each other build up more good compliments towards our kids than negative. And I think that allowed a better form of communication
That's
because
true.
they became friends with us because they hear more compliments from us than more of like,
Did your
like
parents give you a lot of compliments? Did they say like good job?
I think my parents compared to other parents, well, my dad was too busy when I was young. That's a whole different thing,
Uh-huh.
right? He was a great guy. He was a great parent. My mom was very present. My mom, I feel like she said a lot of good stuff to us. But there were episodes, especially when my dad was busy, like when we moved to America, to US, he worked a lot. Uh, and actually, both of my parents worked a lot. And that's when I heard almost like, did you do this? Did you do that? Why aren't the dishes dirty? And so I got to ride a wave of every day I'm in trouble. So,
Oh.
and I could see if a kid, all he rides or she rides the whole day is, I am in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That's like they want to run away from this. They want to hide. They don't want to open up to their parents. Versus if they're just like, we had friends that actually growing up that had amazing parents. My parents are amazing too, but like their parents were so friendly to them. Like it just to me was an eye opening seeing how a parent could be either like, a bad guy or a parent could be your best friend.
You know what's funny? I clearly know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
It's like it's so vivid. There are
There's
some
some
people that
people,
are just like good parents, so
yeah.
they should have 20 kids. Maybe they won't be good parents if they have 20 kids, but they're just like meant to be
I don't
parents.
know if they know that, but they definitely had a little bit of a example in us or influence in us.
Okay, so I feel like you kind of jumped into like older kids' age. One of the like I want to talk about like very fundamental things more about like from the start
Uh,
is you are one team. Like they can't go to you and ask for a sleepover if I said no.
okay. Does it feel like so many parents are running different teams? Like it feels like there's always a good guy and a bad guy, and the kid knows exactly who to talk to get it their way out.
I feel like we do want, I don't know about other people so much.
Mhm.
I think it's like it's common thing, and I think like the soft-hearted parent most
Yeah.
likely will say yes. I'll say yes,
Yeah.
literally to 99.9% of the
Yeah.
stuff, and you probably will not say yes as often. But one of the other things is like if Ethan's mean to you or Jacob's mean to you, which
Mhm.
they're not really mean to us, but like I go and talk to them. They know where like we defend each other.
We're one team. I see what you mean.
And
Okay.
like if
That's funny.
I say no and he's gonna, sometimes when you say no, Ethan will be like, I can't believe Papa say no to this. Can you go talk to him? And I'll go explain to
That's so
you
interesting.
my side of it, and I will be the mediator. That happens, and that's still one team
I love the
because we're
fact,
getting on the
yeah.
same page.
Yeah. So
But he knows.
I also have this
Uh-huh.
thing. I require from our boys to treat their mom with the most respect. I said, if you are having a rough day, because sometimes the youngest one, the oldest one is always at the same level.
Well,
But
now he is, but when he was younger, because
Well,
more
the
emotional.
youngest one is the one that goes up and down, up and down. And I tell him like, hey, look, if you're having a bad day, go right at me. You can yell at me. You can do whatever you want. But I never want to ever hear you raise your voice at your mama. Never. And he knows that you have to respect her you have to give her respect. To me, you can yell. So I
Well,
do
that
that.
teaches them to be good husbands. But there was the other day, he was kind of mean to you. I don't remember what it was. And I came to him and I said, I think you need to talk to Papa and apologize because that was
Yeah, and it
uncalled
works.
for.
Yeah.
So we do this, like we're always one team. And Ethan would be like, just don't tell Papa about this because you tell him everything. This happens very often, but they know we're one team.
Yeah, they do.
Even though sometimes I'll mediate because I literally say yes to everything.
They know they would know we're one team.
But like,
But
if
it's
you say
funny.
no, we still try to get on the same page, but they still know that we're one team. And I think being one team is so important. Whenever you're parenting, like you guys, I guess it doesn't really touch on the parenting, but more about your relationship with your spouse, because that's like
Does
to be
reflect.
Yeah, because you have to have a good relationship in order to be one team. So if your relationship is not good, then I guess you have to fix that. And kids feel it.
Yeah,
Even at a
they
younger
do.
age, they can see when you're arguing. They
They
can
do.
see when you're upset because then they get upset.
Yeah, it's funny because so they do still, I think, like they do test out and get, they tend to ask permission towards the one that gives them has the most chance of saying
Huh?
yes. But at the same time, they do know that both of us talk with each other, and they do know if they make a deal with one parent, the other one is definitely going to find out, and we're on the same team. I think that is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, one team, because then I think when you can get on this same page, um, it avoids a lot of arguments, avoids a lot of misunderstandings.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see that.
I
Absolutely.
remember one point in my right before you proposed, my mom said, "Yeah, you can go to Ukraine," and Dad was just like, he was kind of like, didn't say much. And one day he was like, "No, you're not going," and I was like, "What do you mean? You already said yes."
Uh-huh.
Like basically by being quiet, I felt like he said yes, but mom said yes, and Dad saying no. I was just so confused. And I was like, why are you guys not on the same page? So like totally threw me off. And as a child, you feel like you're in the middle of it. So I think it's very important for that reason too, especially at a very young age.
I mean, and it teaches them to be like to function as a team. I think it teaches everybody to function as a team because as we're together, we're got each other's back. They feel like we got their own back, and then we have two boys. They also get their own back. Remember, like if one of them is in trouble, like our oldest one would come in, like, "Why are you yelling at his brother? Why are you yelling at my brother?"
They do defend
They
each
do,
other.
yeah. They feel like they're together. Also, it's kind of cute. I love that.
It is cute. They defend each other. But we don't do this perfectly. I say this, but I think it's so important. But we don't do this perfectly, and I do think that we can always improve. But it just removes so much headache if you can be one team.
Yeah, yeah. So it's one interesting thing is that Natalia and I, and we mentioned it a lot of times, are so different. We are so different in so many aspects. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you don't like one of us, you will like the other. Let's just say that.
Actually, most of the time, people like Tim.
From your point of view and from my point of view, everybody
I
loves
know. I
Natalia.
literally feel like I disappear in a room whenever it's me and Tim. Like people are obsessed with Tim.
I like that
Everywhere
you
we
have
go.
this point of view.
No, that's
Thank you.
actually that's fact. Like
Have you,
that's not
have you
even
seen
like
the last podcast? Everybody hates me. Everyone thinks I'm a douche.
because you were just like trying to ruffle feathers.
See that's I like ruffling feathers. So, but anyways, Natalia and I have very different parenting technique, or at least we used to,
We
right?
still do.
We might, maybe we still do. Like I mentioned, I was brought up thinking like spanking is the way to go. You're strict, you're direct. Some of the things my dad did, the way he raised us, it's a little too extreme. Like he made us hold a pillow for 30 seconds or sometimes more in the air. Oh, that was brutal. Or some other stuff. I don't think that's good. But I did raise up thinking I need to be more strict. You on the other end, like why spank? Why even get him in trouble? Why even timeout? It's like just talk. Or they want something, just give it to them. So you're so permissive. You're giving so much, and here I am. I'm so uptight, and I have so many rules. So we have a very different technique.
But here's my thing. It's like and that brought a lot of marriage arguments for us. Like I think one of the reasons
Initially, yes.
it's I think it's still the case. Like the reasons why we still argue in marriage is oftentimes the parenting. Because we do
Well,
have it's less right now. I'm not saying that it's as often, but I
yeah.
would say it's like the core reason.
I ended up saying like, I need to keep my word. Uh, that's not right. Or okay, there's one time our youngest he passed his curfew. Somehow he just like actually less than a week ago, and he decided with his mom, with my wife, that it was okay to do that. And I got triggered. I got in my car and I'm like, I'm gonna go find him. I'm just hauling back home. And she had to stop me, like, look, trust him. He said he'll be back home at 11:30, which is late. He should be back before 10.
You guys, we live in like secluded neighborhood
Yeah.
with a police car. Like we're
Most of
fine.
the time. Yeah. But I did try to embrace what you told me, and I left at exactly 11:30. And as I left, I saw the youngest driving back on the golf cart. I'm like, okay, so he's coming home. He kept his word. And he saw me driving after him, and he's like, am I in trouble? And I'm like, I was just worried about you, but I'm happy you kept your word. I'm just happy you're a good guy. That's all. Yeah. But I
I
snap. Like I don't snap. Like I go at it. Like, why is he bad?
Yeah, and like for me, especially when it came to
Yeah.
spanking, I was like, they're my kids too. You're like ruining them. Basically, my head. And there was, you guys, it's hard because like you have this, like we have these two little humans, and I have my idea of parenting, and you have your idea of parenting. I think literally every couple faces this, and just want you to know that you're not alone. It's hard. You just have to be like, you have to have strong marriage to survive this,
You do.
because
It's crazy.
it's like you can be in the most perfect relationship, and then if you don't like how they parent, or like you could have taught like, hey, why are you letting Ethan loose at 11:30? You could have been like, you're so irresponsible, you're allowing him to do this, blah blah blah. You could have spiraled. You didn't really spiral on me, but like you could have, like when you were spanking, I was like, dude, they're my kids too. Why are you spanking them? Like, and I feel like I have just as much rights as you do
Do
towards
you know
my
what
kids.
a lot of times happens because of that? What ends up happening is a mom will end up forming a team with a kid against the father. And it'd be like, hey, like talking like plans against the father. And the kid would feel like it's them and a mom versus the father. Have you seen those relationships?
I
I've seen
have a
those
little bit, not
relationships.
a lot, but like, I mean, you can't really witness
Yeah.
this stuff. It's
And,
private.
well, I've witnessed that. And it's like, then as a dad, you end up fighting a mom and a child. Like, and the child thinks there's a, like mom and dad are not together. Like, like the mom got, it's just good you feel loved. But I think like we should do it more as a partnership, ideally.
It would be lovely, but I still so when kids were little, I was like, oh man, we'll outgrow this and marriage will be so easy. And then another season comes and another season comes, and you're like, holy moly, does this ever end? Because you still disagree on parenting, and both of us are very strong headed.
So I don't necessarily disagree. So I naturally I think more direct, more calculated. I do know that I'm a little bit too expressive sometimes. Like I no I push my way sometimes too much. Like I expect them to be rule follower to the core, and I try to be more permissive. Allow them to get in trouble a little bit. Let them do yeah,
Big
whatever.
kids.
Yeah, but it's hard for me. So I mean we do differ, and you're like, oh, they're kids, they're fine. But I think, and I see the same thing from you. You're trying to embrace, keeping your word, more structured. So we do meet along somehow.
We do. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
saying that we're always on the opposite ends of the world, but I just want people to know that it's normal if there
it's
are.
yeah,
It's
and I feel
very
like so
normal.
many people would be normal, and I think natural, like most moms, are gonna have to be more. I mean, it's the baby they cared for 9 months. It's the baby they like they breastfed, and then like you feel so attached to the baby, and like how dare is the dad like the father so rude to the baby, and
I don't think that way. I actually
especially
think there's other ways.
well,
Okay, so
well,
what
especially
would
as a boy. I mean, that's a boy. Like a boy. Come on, I have to be like a boy, a
I
little more
actually
rough
think
to the guy.
I don't think I would know how to parent a
Yeah.
daughter. I would think I would struggle. I like that we had boys. Maybe if you have a daughter, you figure it out, but I feel like I would be way too soft on a daughter, and I would just, and you would be too.
No, I think I would be soft if I had a daughter, and you would be more direct. With the boys, I'm like, I act like a boy.
I'm also very like very tough on boys.
Your version of tough is not tough at all. I can just tell you, for a
Okay,
boy, it's not tough at
can
all.
we share how what were the techniques that we used with like disciplining boys when we figured out that like spanking is not the way to
Oh,
go? Can you
yeah,
share some of
that
the
is cool.
techniques?
So one of the
At like at a young age,
so the
we're still
coolest
talking a
thing,
young
yeah,
age.
yeah, and then we'll move on to slightly older. But okay, the coolest thing we developed. Okay, this is our
We should
copyright
market
trademark.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trademark. It is the coolest system ever. Okay, if you guys are raising kids, listen up. We had two terms. One is called timeout, and another one quiet time. So if the kids get in trouble, we give them quiet time. Quiet time, like for example, if we're driving, they're arguing, they throw a toy at each other. We do quiet time. Quiet time is just no one can talk, and we usually do it for like 30 seconds.
Depends on the situation.
Depends on the
If this
situation.
is longer.
And if that doesn't work, if they're still misbehaving, and then we do timeout. Timeout is when they cannot do absolutely anything. And usually it's like 30 seconds or a minute, sometimes more. Actually, the most I think we've gone to is like 5 minutes. You have to sit still. You can't move. You can't talk. That's when you really screwed up.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it would reset kids. So, and that's where keeping your word comes in really handy because if you mess up one time, your timeout, your quiet time will never work. So, let's say we put them in quiet time and they don't follow through. We're like, restarts. If you do this again, it
Yeah,
becomes
restart. Every
longer.
time you break the rule, the time restarts.
Or it gets longer. So like we would just like keep the word and it worked like magic. It
worked like
resets the
magic.
child.
It's like the thing is, by the time they're done with timeout or quiet time, they forget what they were arguing. They were just excited that it's over and they just mind their business. That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
It was magic.
Yeah. So if you take anything away from this,
Take that.
was
It works.
that was amazing. When things change so much, I feel like the middle school kids are so different.
You know how some people say like it gets worse as they get older? I feel like it gets funner and easier.
Maybe maybe even older elementary school kids and middle school kids kind of age, where they kind of fully comprehending the laws of the land. I don't know. Like so
when you can have a normal
Yeah.
talk with him,
Yeah.
that's good. You know, they can explain themselves. I think that's oh my goodness, what a difference.
So I think when they get a little bit older, and you guys, I feel like I'm talking so much.
No, you're good. No.
You guys, I have notes. That's why I'm talking so much. We made this notes together.
She said, I want to lead because I know how to lead this.
That's not what I said. That's not how it was.
I said, yes, ma'am.
No, yesterday Tim was like, let's lead together. I was like, oh, yesterday we recorded this podcast and I know it got recorded. So we're doing the same podcast. But yesterday he was like, let's lead together. I was like, I have no idea. How about you lead? And then it's like, you know what? One of us should lead. So that's why I'm like, we made notes together and now I'm leading the way.
I'm peeking on your notes.
Okay. Kids, middle school, older elementary school kids. I feel like one of the most important things is quality time. Can you touch on that?
Can I explain this? Give me some more info.
Info.
Like, what do you mean by quality time? What
No,
is
I'm
quality
just
time?
like
I'm thinking vacation. Like when you say quality time, I'm
vacation
thinking
for
vacation.
sure. But I'm talking about like really unplugged time. I think this is very important also in high school age. Like so starting from like elementary school to where you're just actually spending, connecting.
I see.
If they're throwing the ball, you're throwing the ball. Like connecting with the child versus like you said earlier that it's you just always tell them what to do versus like having a relationship.
Well, see, a lot of the opinions I have is about boys because we have boys. And I know, when you talk about 10, 11, 12, up to 12, I say, very, very important for me, it was to talk to boys about girls. That was because that is the age when they find out about a lot of things and they find out through the means that I wouldn't necessarily want them to find out. So,
birds. What would they say?
the birds and the bees.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I don't know. That's not how I did it. I just spoke we had the coolest thing. So I was putting them
Can you share how you talked about birds and bees? Because I feel like this is such a good way to do it, and I'm like very proud of how. Thank God we had boys because Tim just did all the work. So share how you did it.
It was super easy. So they loved when I was putting them to bed because they could slack a little longer. They didn't have to fall asleep right away. And I took advantage of that time. I actually spent so much time with them, putting them to bed, and they kept on asking all these stories and all that stuff. And the thing is, that's when they were the most open to me. And they knew that they're absolutely never in trouble. Like they're never, you know how a lot of us are raised with parents that are, especially conservative backgrounds, they're very direct.
Birds and bees don't happen.
Yeah. Or they're like, don't do this, don't do that. I was never like that with kids. Like even if you do whatever mistake, I don't care. I was so honest, and so when we had our conversations, my kids were never in trouble in front of me. Okay. They can talk to me about anything they ever want. They're not in trouble. At the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? You're building your life, not my life. I just want to be there for you and help you build the best life ever. And so like, it was before going to bed.
Well, they were in trouble when they would lie or
they were lying, stealing, and hitting. That was a big one. But besides that, I mean, if you're not hurting other people, I'm okay with whatever. But we had these conversations every time they go to bed, and we get like so personal, and they would talk, and like we had the most like men to men talk ever. And so I was happy the fact to be the first one to tell them how things work, the first ones to tell them about a relationship between a boy and a girl, or a guy and a girl, a woman. So I think that was the time, and they spoke to me. They were very open because I was very open with them.
But the way you you showed them,
Yeah. Well,
the way you,
yeah,
the way you shared
I
it
did
with them
show
was
them.
like animals, right? You
Yeah,
started with
I was like,
animals.
"Hey, let's come watch YouTube." All right, do you see this? And it's funny because there's a point where the kids were younger, and we bought them rabbits.
Bunnies,
Yeah,
yes.
remember
It's
that?
oh my goodness.
And I guess one bunny saw the other one, and he hasn't seen bunnies for a long time.
Their boys were still little.
Yeah, and it sounded like a construction site.
If you have bunnies, you know it doesn't matter
It-
what gender
yeah,
they are.
and I think our
It was like it wasn't just like we left them together. We just like put them in a cage for 2 seconds, and the cage was just moving.
yeah, it was a construction happening. It was like
And boys started screaming and
this, oh yeah,
crying.
yes, screaming and crying. He's hurting him. He's hurting him. I'm like, no, he's not. And like later on when we had these conversations, I'm like, do you know what really happened? And I'm like,
That's
hey,
how they love each
let's
other.
go watch some Discovery Channel. And like to start it off with animals, I'm like, okay, they're not hurting each other. And I think that was a cool thing. A lot of people are afraid
Of the topic?
of the topic, or they're shy. I think as long as you're not going to pervert the topic, right? As long as you're not going to make it like 21 plus, but because we are all natural,
Yeah.
we all have the same bodies. And if you approach it that way, like I turned on some forgotten tribes in some jungle where YouTube allows that stuff. And look, if you're a parent and you say, I don't want my kids to see that natural body, how it looks, it's your choice. I think we should. It's fine to see a human body anatomy, and I think if I had to redo that, I keep on redoing it because it's absolutely. I don't want my kids for the first time to see a naked human body on the bad website. Okay, I want them to see a human
Yeah,
body
not over sexualizing it.
as an autonomy, as the way it looks from a non-sexual point of view. So we watched some like the tribe thingy or whatever. There's these people, I don't know, living their outside lives. And like I would explain to them like, that's how people look. Kids have no clue how girls look like, or like our boys didn't
Well,
know
actually,
what
they played doctor.
they did.
They accidentally one time played doctor. Remember, we had a group of friends at our house,
And they
and one of the girls got undressed, and I was like,
yeah.
boys,
I
but
think
boys were very little, and they were so
was
confused.
it the youngest that was asking why they have two butts?
I did not expect you to say that, but you did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, girls have to.
Yeah. I guess. they
Okay,
have two
this is
butts.
TMI,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But the thing is, like,
I feel like kids discover in a very innocent way. So one of the things that, like, I feel like I become goofy and like shy and uncomfortable, but you do it with such a like natural way. I remember we were in a car, and boys were talking, and Jacob was like, "I still don't get it. Like, what happens?" And I'm sitting in the front seat, and I'm like giggling, and I'm like, I hope they don't see that I'm giggling. So like, I turn away, I hide my face, and I'm like trying to be all serious because this is like, you can't make it goofy or something weird. Like, make it as natural as possible for younger kids. And I think Jacob was already in middle school.
The
And
youngest one told
explained to
the
him.
oldest one.
He's like, they just touched. That's all.
Don't you get it? No, he says, don't you get it?
I'm not gonna share the rest of it, but like it was just funny because he shared it in such an innocent way, and I was like, it blew my mind because I was like, what we do as a society, we make it so weird and so like like it's a natural thing.
It's
Taboo.
taboo, yeah.
And the more we as a parent make it taboo, the more they want to hide it and sneak it away with their friends and talk about it.
I know that from my own life, from my own friends that I grew up with. It's that curiosity sometimes that gets you into the bad places. So I wanted my kids like not to be sheltered to a point where they like, like
They're just like sneaking it away.
yeah, right. If they sneak it away, am I sharing too much? I'm not sharing too much. I think this is okay. No, but do you see the point? Like, yes, like as a parent, like I am not the parent that's gonna go out and disable every website, every app, and everything. This is not the way I raised my kids or our kids.
Well, hold on. Middle school, we
We
had
did
parent
have it.
control.
They do.
So
We did on the phones, and I think this is what's wrong with a lot of families, and this is where I actually do feel very opinionated. A lot of parents don't have the
parental
parenting
control at a younger
controls
age.
at a young age, but they would put it on at an older age. Absolutely stupid. I think
We knew somebody, their child at a very young age was watching
yeah.
very like inappropriate stuff, and we're like, there's parenting control. Why doesn't he like elementary
But
school?
guess what? They do turn it on later. So it was just absolutely stupid because I think it's completely the opposite. That kids need guardrails early on, but later on it becomes a suppression, right? They're
Yeah.
curious or they want to, and or
But
you
if
say,
they were exposed to it already, it's
yeah,
too late.
yeah, and you keep on saying it's really bad for you, and they try it out, like, wait, it's not bad, or oh, my friends are doing it, so it's not bad. So they don't know. You failed to actually lead them. And this is why I actually ended up spending a lot of times with kids, and I introduced people in a very kind of a people way instead of just taking, letting him browse around and finding it out. And I wouldn't want to be introduced.
It's funny when my friends they moved to Barcelona. And they're very conservative. And you guys, if you don't know this, but in Barcelona there is a public beach. Like being European is so different than growing up in America. And like sometimes there's like understanding of like I know the world has changed and like there's weird people out there and all that stuff. But I feel like
They call
the
Americans
society,
weird. In Europe, Americans are considered to be weird. They're like, why are you guys sexualizing everything? It's just a human body.
I don't know if they think it's weird. I think cultural difference maybe.
Yeah.
But like for us, like the girls in like even in Ukraine, you don't wear a top till like 12 or whatever. And
Yeah, well,
we
at
go
least
to
10, yeah.
Yeah, you go to Barcelona, every like more than 50% of people are naked, like absolutely naked. It's public beach, thousands of people, children, pregnant women, man, everybody is naked, and it's not sexualized. And I feel like we kind
not
of
for
over
everybody. It's not for everybody.
I mean, if so like this very conservative family was like moving to Barcelona or like going to Barcelona and was like, what are you gonna do with your kids?
Well, yeah,
I think they have to have a conversation.
I honestly, like as a dad, you can judge me all you want. I don't care if my kids see that. That's fine. It's a human body. It's okay.
It's a norm.
I think the more you suppress it, say don't look, the more they want to look. But if you say, go ahead, look, hey, look, we have liquor in our pantry. Nobody drinks it. It's like I'm not locking it from them. Do you want to take a sip? Yeah, I'm sure they're not going to want to take a sip. Sure, but like I'm not locking everything away from them. It's just you're raising the right goals.
And that's why I think those fundamental things early on, like elementary school, middle school, are so important. When you get into high school, it's very much on trust versus control.
Well, you don't want to be control. We quit parenting pretty much after middle school. Right now, we're friends at high school. We don't like even whenever I used to be more direct with them in middle school, high school. I talk. We debate, we talk, we decide.
It's negotiate.
Friendship. Yeah, we negotiate. There's no one-way communication anymore. Not in high school.
With high school, that's why I was saying like in middle school, it's so important that quality time. So you create that connection.
Yes.
I think connection starts at
Yes.
elementary school, but it's more than anything that quality time is so important in middle school, I think.
Yeah.
Or like higher
Roughly,
grades in
even
elementary.
earlier. Yeah. Right about 10 years old, you want to be involved with your kid's life. If you're going to,
I think even before 10. I think 8 maybe.
Sure. But
I mean, always should be involved, but like more
know-
like in the connecting level.
yeah, I know with our boys, it was very, very important to start spending very deep, very long times at like 10, 11, 12 years old. Those were very foundational.
And like one-on-one time.
One-on-one time, yeah.
If you can get away, even if you have a lot of kids, doing small things. Like, for example, Ethan and I, we loved going to Costco together. He no longer cares for me. We loved walking
He'd go
together.
with me last time I went with
Yeah,
him.
he went. Well, he was going to go with me,
And
but
this is cool. We have little hobbies that we share, like the gym. And so he's like, I wanted to go with dad so we could buy all the like pre-workout or stuff, a bunch of protein bars or whatever.
yeah, it flops on you. Like, so middle school, he really wanted me to pick him up from school. So that was such a great time. And so you have to find those moments where they're just like interested in you. Whatever they're interested that you're doing, try to do it with them, even if it's hard. I know like middle school was like, really, we have a bus. Just get on the bus and drive home. Like it's not that hard. And they take you directly home. And he's like, but I like being picked up. So like I'm glad I
But
did
I
it.
know I really actually give a lot of credit to you. You were responsible for spending them, like for helping me spend more time with them.
That's why we
That-
travel.
Yeah, that's actually one of the
And now
biggest
they don't want
reasons
to
why
go
we
with us.
travel.
That's a sad part too.
But we definitely took advantage while they could, right?
Yeah,
While they
we're still.
wanted.
So one of the other things within high school is I'm thinking about like yesterday was a great example of like hearing them out and kind of respecting their opinions. So for example, I found this is an example, but like we have a lot of credit card points, and I found a flight on Emirates, and it's like you guys, if you flew Emirates or you've seen people fly Emirates, it's like an experience. We never flew Emirates ever, and I was like, well, we have enough points to fly first class, four of us, and we're gonna do it. I was so excited, but it's like it's a family meeting now. Like it's everybody's opinion matters because it's like a family event. So talk to you. You were kind of saying yes.
I mean, yeah,
I was holding you hostage.
that's fine.
Tim was saying yes, kind of. And then I was like, the best voice of reason in our family is Ethan. So I was like, Ethan,
The
what do
youngest.
you, yeah, the youngest. I'm like, what do you think about this idea? It's like, it's so exciting. We can do it. It's the lifetime experience. And he's like, can you tell me dollar value? So like I showed
Smart
him
guy.
examples. I shared, and he's like, well, what about that ski hotel that we went to? Because we went to Colorado to the ski hotel.
He loves skiing.
Yeah, he loves skiing. And I told him that like you can spend 2 nights for one flight at the ski hotel.
So
like
one flight was equivalent
to 2 nights. So
2
like
nights.
between 4 of us, we could have stayed 8 nights. And he looks at me, he's like, that is the stupidest thing ever. We are not flying first class. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not. He didn't care about it. But it's like thinking about what's important to them and respecting it
We
because
consult a lot more with kids right now. We ask for their
opinion and we respect it.
yeah, we respect.
If they like they didn't want to go to like we had Costa Rica planned for August for a trip. I'm talking about a trip as an example because it's like the easiest example. And they were like, we don't want to go anymore. So we switched it and we went together for another place. But like we listen to their opinion. We don't force them to do things they don't want to do.
Well, it also teaches them to make decisions. Also, you know.
Sure.
it-
Gives them responsibilities. But
Right.
I just think they feel like powerful. They feel like part of the
They
team.
feel involved. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and so the trip is not like they actually end up forcing to like the trip because they made that idea, that decision, or they picked that location. And then at the same time, yeah, it does bring everybody closer together.
Yeah. So and also like when they got older, I never really forced them to play with younger. It sounds bad,
Oh,
but
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so yes, I know where you're going with that. You know, when people come over to your house, we used to be like, "Hey guys, can you entertain him?" But as they grew older, we saw that like, okay, they are so. That's where you're going with this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's so much. They're in a different wave of life than the younger kids, and that was
and it's
interesting.
good to serve people. I think it's important, and we teach
Yeah.
them that. Like we teach them. I was gonna mention this too. Like charity work is so important to us, so we like
we've
teach
done
them that. We don't really talk about it publicly, but to me, it's important. Like our boys were really involved in the young age. But like, so you can do some charity work, you can do some entertaining, and you can be a great host. But that's not your responsibility. Like me as a parent, I invited this family with little kids. You didn't choose to invite this family with little kids. It wasn't
So
your choice. It
you
was
didn't-
my choice. So it's not your responsibility to entertain them.
So that's interesting. I remember we had that conversation. That was interesting because I usually would be like, "Hey, go entertain him. Go turn on a movie or something." And you said, "Hey, look, yeah, you didn't invite that family. I understand. It's not your responsibility to entertain him. Maybe you can like turn on a movie for them or show them how to use that. I don't know,
Games or whatever.
yeah, a game or something. But you could do whatever you want." I think that was cool.
I mean, it's good to have servant's heart.
Yeah.
It is also good to entertain people. It's also good to be welcoming, but it is definitely not their responsibility.
Yeah, I like that you
I
didn't
don't
pressure
know.
kids into like your own template. Like
Because here's what happens. You're inviting these people over. It becomes a burden for your children. They hate having kids over. They hate having people over. And then it's like nobody's having fun. So like if you don't want to be there, don't be there. Just do your own life.
that was
Okay.
cool. I actually like that.
Okay, so
We're moving on to high school.
we're in high school basically. Um,
High school is like the easiest years. I don't know who said that high school sucks, that teenagers are the worst. I absolutely love it. I'm living life through them just by talking about
I think it depends
everything
on the
that's going
kid.
on.
I think Jacob is very moody and he'll be like, what do you want from me? Like if you met Jacob, he's the sweetest. He's like so level
Our
headed.
oldest,
She's
yeah.
just so easy. He's like the perfect child, just easy. And but during like he's what do you call that age?
Like the
Growth spurt, not growth
yeah,
spurt.
kind of
Turning
like
into teenager.
right,
He was more emotional. I was like, whoa, I was like, who are you?
more snappy.
More snappy, yeah. And then he grew out of it. Ethan is very different. He's like this, up and low, up and low. And the
Ethan's
lows are low and
energy,
highs are highs.
Ethan's energy is on the surface.
Yeah, he's very emotional. And but because he's so emotional, he's so loving. He's just so over the top caring and
I have to
just
check
like
in with the weather. How are you
yeah.
doing today? Oh, all right, let's chat.
And we have to respect if he's not feeling like after school he feels tired. So he's like,
I
don't
did
talk to
talk
me,
to
let
him
me
a little
recharge.
bit, like I mentioned earlier. I asked him not to ever raise his voice on you. I'm like, hey, if you need to yell at somebody, to talk to me,
He doesn't need to yell at anybody.
right?
And one of the things that I feel like, speaking of yelling, we don't yell, and it's one of the things I learned from you.
Uh-huh.
You want to share about yelling?
No, I think you should share it.
I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, I think that's a good one. No, I mean, like okay, so you guys have a very outspoken family, right? Everyone talks at the same time. So if you visit the family, they're most welcoming, the best family, the best food, but everyone speaks at the same time. And if you want to be heard, you just have to be a notch louder. You're actually good at that. So you put everybody back in place.
I'm the loudest because I'm the youngest.
Maybe because you're the youngest. I
So
don't
I had
know.
to like crank it up.
But then like our youngest also had has the loudest voice. I don't know. Whatever it is.
But one of the things you said in our marriage, you said if you yell, you basically Tim just told me, like, if you yell, I'm not gonna be with you. Like, we don't yell at kids. It's not
yeah.
okay to yell
That was
in
even
front of
before
kids.
when I said like if the neighbors hear us,
I'm out. I'm not gonna live here.
Yeah.
But so here's one of the things I notice sometimes moms do. They yell, they yell, they yell. Or like, no, they ask for child's attention. They say something and say something until they yell and the child pays attention. So I think like the yelling thing, and they're like, see, the child never hears me unless I'm yelling. Well, that's what they're used to.
Not a healthy relationship.
So yelling should not be the norm. And I feel like we sound so perfect, but we're not perfect. It's just like we're sharing kind of like the takeaways that we did in our marriage.
like
Did I
beating
yell
up your
sometimes?
car.
Yes, I did. Actually, I remember vividly in the car, and I think that's what shook both kids. They were very young still. I remember where we lived. We were driving in the car, and I just snapped, and both kids were in a car. And
Was I there?
no, I was driving to my parents' house with two kids in the car, and I was just like, "You don't like this, you don't like this," and I was just like, when I spiral, I keep going and going. So I was like spiraling, and two of them were in the car, and both of them go to each other, like, "Be quiet, don't say anything else."
They get scared.
And like this was like a very vivid moment in my life, and I was like, "You don't appreciate anything I do for you," and I just kept going and going and going, and they're just like, "Be quiet, don't say anything else."
We have not seen this version of Mama.
So like I think it's okay.
I-
It's okay to snap.
No, it's
To a
okay to
certain-
show your feelings a
Yeah,
little bit.
To a certain
Yeah.
point. Don't
Even
scare
if-
your children.
Even if you cry, I think
I think it's okay to like. I also think to a point it's okay to argue in front of kids, unless you have very unhealthy arguments and you can like traumatize your children. But I think disagreements.
no throwing objects.
No screaming. But we disagree in front of kids.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
And
Most of
kids
our,
try to like mediate us.
but
But
like
it's not. Yeah.
I think it's normal, and I want them to know that it's normal. It depends on the level of it. So don't traumatize
Can I
children.
actually add one more thing? I think it's good. Just so a messy, disorganized conversation. It's messy. It's messy. It's important, I think, for a parent to own the mistakes and apologize to a child.
Oh, absolutely.
And say like, hey, I'm a human. I messed up the other time, but I'm trying to be the best dad. I've done that, and it was only the best.
I think so too. And sometimes I'll tell kids, be like, hey, by the way, I don't get a trial run. So sometimes you're the practice run
that's
for
right.
me. So I'm sorry I
the
messed
lab
up
rat.
and I'm going to do better. Yeah, basically, I'm like, to have the two of you. This is my practice run, and I don't get another chance. And I'm sorry, I suck. And I will tell them also, like when they were younger, I'll be like, Mama needs a timeout. I do not feel good.
This is what I think is really cool, man. One of the biggest tips, not the biggest, but one of them, is that what you did is whenever you needed a quiet time to yourself, you never blamed a child for it. You never said, you're loud, shut up, or sit down, or you didn't say, go back to your room. What you said is like, Mama.
Sometimes I would say that.
No, but from what I saw, you always said, Mama is very tired. Mama needs a quiet time.
I would not even say that I'm tired. I'd be like, Mama needs a timeout. Mama needs a quiet time. Which
you blame yourself.
Yeah, to child, it felt like I was misbehaving. I was being naughty.
Okay, so I was once, it's a true story. I was once collaborating. Well, I was an undercover informant for FBI. Okay, let's just say that. And we went in the team. It was in Starbucks. There were like...
Are you allowed to share this?
I'm allowed to share it right now.
Okay. Okay.
It's no longer a secret. We went out where there were like 20 agents, maybe like so many, because we were dealing with a very, very...
But is this their like
guy.
trade secret that you're giving away?
No, I'm sure I'm not giving away a trade secret. But check this out. So I was meeting with a person who was America's Wanted. He's in jail. He was a very, very bad guy, very crazy guy. And I was sitting there. I was wired or all that stuff. And but the agent said this. So he said, if something goes wrong, I am not going to arrest. I'm gonna act like it just happens that there's a cop in Starbucks. We're all in Starbucks. But I'm actually not going to arrest the wanted guy, the bad guy. I'm gonna arrest you. I'm gonna make it look like you are the bad guy, and I'm gonna walk you away. This is how I'm gonna save your life, right? So if that guy brings a weapon, if the guy starts attacking me, that FBI agent is gonna arrest me, making it look like I'm the bad guy. So it's almost like that little mind game. And I was sitting there, I'm like, I never got arrested. I don't want to look like I got arrested. But I'm like, this is actually brilliant. That's a good way of saving me.
I also think like when you're at a point where you need a timeout or you need quiet time, you are getting to a point where you should be in timeout. Like somebody should put you in timeout, because parenting is hard, especially little kids. It's so hard. And you get to a point where you're drained, you're tired, you're sleep deprived, and you start misbehaving. So you do need that timeout.
And I love how you blame yourself. I say, you were fine. It's my fault. I need a quiet time. It doesn't make them feel like they're bad kids. You know how kids growing up, they always feel like, oh, I'm not right. I'm always so bad. Kids feel like this conscious, I don't know, feeling like they're bad kids. But by doing this, you're not telling them they're bad kids, yet you're affording yourself time out.
I feel like they heard enough from us about being bad kids. I'm sure we do that too. Okay. So you mentioned this before about expectations. Expectations as far as like what they should do, what they should achieve, what like fixing a car, construction, all this stuff. And I think like a lot of Slavic parents do this, especially our parents.
Yeah.
Our generation.
So my parents are great. They're great at raising me.
You keep on saying that.
Yeah, but there's some
actually
things.
Tim's parents were amazing.
Yeah, they really were amazing. But there's one thing that I felt there's imperfections. Okay, I mean, I'm sure we have imperfections. Every parents have imperfections, but the imperfections were like this. My dad expected me to behave a certain way, or to career-wise to be successful at certain things. For example, he expected me to be great in physical labor, or like, a lot of parents expect you to be a mechanic, good with cars. Like I'm not. Till this day, I don't know anything about cars. Or like my dad wanted me to be an early bird, and I see the importance of it. Like I shared earlier, he woke me up at 6 a.m. in the morning to go for a run. He wanted me to be an early bird. Naturally, I am a late night owl. Okay. My body loves to sleep a little later than everybody else and likes to sleep longer. I just the way I work. And it took me a long time to figure it out when I grew up. and I got to work with some of the best talent in the world, with some of the best engineers. And I ended up seeing that they're literally all going to sleep at 3 a.m. And they're like literally the most successful engineers ever. And then I got to find myself like, wait a minute, I am actually so much better at technical work. And so what I realized to myself is when we had kids, I'm like, oh, our youngest would be the best singer in the world. Like he has this gifted
He
voice.
actually does. He hits the notes.
Every note, he doesn't, zero effort. He picks up every instrument like in an instant. But that's not who he wants to be. And so like, it's
Well,
not
we
just
introduced
like,
a lot of different musical things to him.
yeah, that's true. But it's not like just don't, I'm not just saying don't make him
Try different things.
no, I'm not saying like don't make him choose the career you want. I'm saying don't necessarily expect him to perform in certain fields just like because you think you should. For example, I remember I wanted to give kids at work and I hired him at 15 years old, 2 kids. One of them physically was construction, was so gifted. He worked better than any adult. And the other one couldn't hold a hammer. He just everything was just wrong. I gave him the easiest work. He couldn't drill. He couldn't do anything. He tried just as hard, but it wasn't in his blood. And I think a lot of times parents expect their kids to do certain things like, oh, and they almost dismiss them like you're unqualified. But the thing is, you have to understand every child is going to excel in different areas. Let them naturally like go within whatever's easier for them. Don't expect them to be good at either physical work. I think Americans do a great job raising kids. They allow them to be themselves, right? Make their own decisions.
I think part of the cultural difference, and I think maybe within our generation it's kind of going away, but our parents had to do it all. Like my dad had to do it all. And it was part of the skills, like it's part of the military skills too. When you think about like Russian, Soviet Union type of military,
Do
they
you
were
know who works
teaching
the
the everything.
hardest? Okay, Ukrainians. How do you say западные Украинцы?
Western part of Ukraine.
The western part of Ukrainians. They're the hardest people. If you've ever worked with them, they were the hardest working people. Like literally our roofers. We had 3 roofers that did our entire roof. It's like a week of work in one day. They work so hard. The reason why they're so successful is they work so hard. And I felt that pressure, especially, you guys are that
Western part of
Western
Ukraine.
part of Ukraine. Your dad is extremely next level hardworking. And the people surrounding us, okay, we're from Siberia. We're just like this, we work casually. My dad's from Ukraine, but he like we work, like we love education. We work easy, but we're surrounding by all the Ukrainians that work their asses off so hard. And so I was pressured. As a matter of fact, that's how I ended up remodeling so many homes that we have. And this is like, it's not in my blood. I don't
It's
like
not
construction.
but I don't know if I agree necessarily with you there because I think every skill is important. So now I'm thinking about my dad,
It's
what
good.
he did.
It's good to know the basics.
Like when he was remodeling one of our houses, doing the deck, I was helping him install the deck.
Good.
When we were
It's good
doing
to know the basics.
landscaping, we made boys do landscaping. Even though they hated it, they still did it with
You
us.
shouldn't be in construction if it's not in your blood. And you shouldn't make your kids be like, you don't know how to hold a hammer. Yeah, maybe you need to learn how to hold a hammer, but you don't need to do everything. Maybe that's not in your blood. But seriously, we met so many, speaking of, us, Slavic people, immigrants, we met so many Americans that don't know how to hold a hammer, but they're very darn successful.
That's true.
That's true. It is true.
That's true.
So
You don't need to know it all. Maybe
you
it's
don't.
better not.
And there are different cultures. Like my mom worked with like Korean people, like doctors. You must be a chiropractor. Like you must be a chiropractor. So like certain cultures.
You say chiropractor because your mom was massage therapist.
She was a massage therapist. Yeah, certain like this. I don't know, or certain. I guess cultures they have this expectations. You have to do something in medical degree. You have to. You don't.
Well, I was supposed to be a nurse.
You're supposed to. Yeah.
But it's like.
But it's not just like don't just like. It's not like don't project your careers within your kids, but it's like don't even expect them. Just because they don't know basic things that you do doesn't mean like
they should know them.
They should know them.
But you want Jacob to be able to change his tire in a car.
I want to understand the basic stuff. But if he can make enough money for somebody else to do it, that's fine too, right?
But if he's stuck on the road, he should know.
maybe to the basic stuff.
Okay, rapid fire questions. We're gonna move on and real quick, snappy.
Okay.
What was the best thing that you have done for your kids when they were young?
The best thing that helped them when they grow up, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the best thing I think we've done is we developed a bunch of skills. We signed them up for music lessons, so they learn how to play piano. Our youngest, especially, he was like, "Why do I need piano? Like, what am I gonna do with it?" Both of them learned piano. They had swimming classes. They learned mini golf. Those are not like necessarily skills you need for your career.
They're not good at anything, but good at everything.
Yes, they have so many skills. But the thing
They
is,
played soccer on a team.
they learn coding. They learn so many things, right? But the thing is, right now, when they grew up, I think a lot of kids do stupid things because what else are they going to do?
They're bored.
They're bored. But because he has so many skills, like our oldest, sometimes between classes, he just comes in and we have a piano here where we're recording. He would go and play piano. Just
To unwind.
Unwind, his brain just going or whatever, resting. And by having so many skills, it paid off because they're not necessarily doing as many stupid things because they have so many other skills. They're like, "Oh, did you hear this and this is happening in the tech world?" Or because they understand it. Or like the piano. "Hey, did you know you can do this and this on piano?" So like, or hey, how about we just go hang out and play some golf? Hey, my friends and us, we're just going to go play top golf or something, right? Because they know how to play golf. And so like the more skills you add on to kids when they're young, the less bored and dumb they're going to become.
Well, kids always are bored. I feel like it's okay to be bored because they can get creative. But what would you do if the kid gets into a bad group of friends? What would you do? Or like starts... What would you do?
Actually, I don't know. That is the one thing we talked about a while back. If they get into if a child is not doing good, the only thing I can think of is moving. I don't know if you have any better suggestion.
I probably would move too. I think for the sake of the child, I would pick up everything and move. And it's not that hard to move. I think sometimes parents overcomplicate it, but if your child is in a bad situation, please move. Like that's like the best thing that you can do, and move as far as you can so they can't reconnect.
I mean, it's a lot
I'm talking
harder.
about high school kids.
It's a lot harder when they have phones and everything. But honestly, like
But if you're moving 3 hours away, it doesn't matter if you have a phone.
I just don't know. At that point, you're literally your only
Move
option
cross
is
country.
to move.
And I'll share this based on my own experience. In middle school, I had a really great group of friends. And I'm like very outgoing. I love people. I
You
love
live
friends.
on people. You live through people.
I do need time to recharge, but I also I love people. And so my group of friends in middle school, we got split up in high school. My family didn't move, but the way we went to high school, they went to one, I went to a different one. And I didn't have a group of friends in high school. And I came in and I was just like, never really made that core group of friends. And my old group of friends, several of them got deported.
They got into drugs.
They got into
deported.
drugs, alcohol, never graduated. I graduated top of my class. I got into really good mindset. I was really focused on school. I started doing charity work because I was bored.
You got moved to a different high school and you just...
Even though I got a car, I could have reconnected with the middle school kids. They just had their own life. And it felt like I had my own life. So I got into charity. I was packing this, what do you call them? Goods to...
Humanitarian goods,
Every other day I would go to a warehouse and pack it away. That was one of the things that I did.
It changed your life.
It changed my life. If I stayed with the same group of friends in high school, there's a huge chance I would probably get into something else. And that would be scary. Like when I think about that part of life, because I stayed very, I want to say pure. Didn't date anybody until I was serious about marriage.
Both of us are very clean.
So we stayed pure. But it's I think the friend group really is dependent. You were very involved too, in church stuff.
My dad was good at that. My dad was just
kept you guys busy.
Yeah, he kept us. He did. He was a good. Yeah, both my parents were good.
So, and I think a lot of it has to do with charity work.
You want to give them. You want to build good habits, right? You want to build instead of taking. You want to build a giving attitude, and that's why you touch base on doing charity works early on, and when they grow up. Actually, I've really liked that in our school. Our kids are required to volunteer for 50 hours before they graduate.
Yeah.
And our oldest, he's like a few days ago, he drove to volunteer for 4 hours. And he has so many more to go, but that teaches him how to give.
Yeah. The other day he came so sweaty and I was like, what were you doing today? You're so sweaty. And he's like, I was cleaning toilets. And they have no idea. I was like, you don't even clean toilets at home, but good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good to learn how to give. But I mean, yeah, if they're in the bad crowd, the only way I can think of is just moving. You have to change the people.
Okay. Some more. A few more questions for you, sir.
You know, it goes around in marriage too. Like if you want to change your spouse,
Move.
you just submerge yourself in a different group of friends and say that's totally fine. Then your spouse.
Stop it.
Like what? Like, oh, vacations are a bad thing.
People
right?
that are our friends, they'll think that you're like removing me from them. And I have been busy because of other
Oh, no,
reasons.
I'm not removing
But actually, one of my friends says, if Tim lets you, I'm
Tim lets you.
like, what?
Because you used to
No,
tell people
no,
like, let me
no,
ask
no.
my husband for
No,
permission.
they think we're attached by the hip. So like everything we do, and she's like, if Tim lets you
We're
go on a
attached by
trip
the
with
hip.
me, like I'm like, no, Tim doesn't need to let me.
Yeah.
I can go on a trip if I want to. I just can't. Because
Because
or
I'm
I
like-
prefer to go with Tim.
Because I'm attached by the hip.
Yeah. What was the hardest age so far?
The youngest age, like the moment they're born all the way till they can change their own diapers.
Change their own diapers.
But
I,
honestly,
I
the
think maybe
oldest-
for us also the youngest age was because they were so close in age, 18 months apart. It felt like there was no breathing room.
it's difficult. Like it's difficult when they cannot talk, when they're crying, but they won't tell you
Yeah,
why they're
that's true.
crying. That was the hardest. I mean, once they started talking, once they started eating their own breakfast, where I didn't have to wake up. Remember, I'm the late night owl.
I got up.
Yeah, I love that age. As a matter of fact, I feel like every year has been only getting easier. Teenage years are the easiest. It's the easy.
I do like teenage years because you can reason, you can have a relationship. I'm actually very, very surprised how easy it's been. Fingers crossed.
They're now musculant teenagers. The hugs are not the same. But you're,
Still like
you're
them.
protected
I
by
sneak
three.
it in sometimes.
You're protected by three strong men.
When we did an interview with Gary Lipovetsky, you guys can go back and listen. I don't know if it was on camera or not, but he said, I own you, like to kids. That's what he says. His kids are much younger. But he's like, I tell the kids that I own them and I can do whatever I want. So sometimes I'll be like, I told the boys this whole story and I was like, I own you, so I can hug you. So sometimes I'll say that.
You do say that.
Which parent would child call? Hold on, let me start over. Which parent would the kid call when they're in trouble or if they need something?
You're the more permissive one. You're the more cuddly one. You're more forgiving. But I mean, they know. I mean, even they know they're not in trouble with me. I mean, do I? I even the only thing I don't like is lying. It's okay. You can come home with like if you're making trouble in my own neighborhood, I'm not gonna like that. But otherwise, I mean, like you could talk.
Okay.
I mean, you're still more lenient and easier.
And how do we handle sibling fights?
I mean, we don't have many now. Like, how do we handle it before?
Sometimes we
Help me out. Yes.
mediate. Is that the right word?
Mediate.
Yeah, like mediator.
yeah.
Yeah, I become a mediator, explaining the
that's
side
right.
of
Yes.
to each other.
So Natalia would take a side of one kid. I would take the side of another kid. Maybe naturally we do that. And
Yeah,
then
because our personalities also match.
yeah, that's true.
And so we will get in the middle, try to come up with a good solution. So it becomes a family problem.
Yeah, we become like their attorneys, and then we argued on behalf of them, and we end up mediating. It's all good. That's funny. That's true.
Do we limit sugar or let them indulge? Let's apply it to everything. Do we limit electron? This would be a good topic to end on.
This is what I want to say. Okay. All right. So I am not the one giving you permissions to hang out with somebody. It's you saying like, hey, I don't want to hang out with you. I love my husband more. Same thing with our kids. It's not them saying don't eat sugar. I think it's they're athletic. They go to the gym. They follow a diet. It's in them. They don't want sugar. They're the ones who don't eat.
Although the last Costco trip you guys did with Ethan was a little traumatized.
It's different. So they are because they're building muscle. they actually need to intake more carbs. So
Okay,
it's
but Tim
different.
bought like a Costco size box of gummy bears because they were on sale.
Okay, that doesn't apply to here, but yeah,
I'm
I
like,
had one today.
what? You were together with Ethan on
I
that
did
trip.
not want to. I'm trying to suppress myself a little bit on the calories because I'm not as active as they are in the gym. So I'm like, I shouldn't be eating stuff. But then like I bought so much gummies, I need to take one at least. And so I did have to.
It's so funny. But I feel like we don't control their sugar intake at all.
No, I think, and this is the thing. We don't control right now at this age what websites they go to, or like, like I don't have like
Permissions.
this like everything blocked out, or I don't even have parenting in their mode on their phone anymore. I don't control their food. Like I don't like scan through their messages. Who did you talk to? What did you say? None of that. I feel like it's too late to parent at this point. They're the ones who are probably fact checking me like, Dad, are you sure you should be eating that? Yeah, that's true. They're the ones who are like literally. I see both kids talking to each other like, "Have you done this? Did you do this?" So they're holding each other accountable.
That's
So
true.
we
They do
actually
help
had
each
that
other.
conversation yesterday. Two kids were going at each other like keeping each other accountable. So as long as they have good priorities.
But like a few years back when Ethan was asking us for Snapchat, it took him a while to get it because it was like he wasn't ready. So I think you have to judge by your own kids.
Oh
Don't like
yeah,
listen to
yeah,
us and
of
like
course.
take this advice and be like, it applies to everything. It can't really apply to everything. Every child is different. Every
I mean,
age,
we
every behavior is different.
personally, like, yes, the youngest I was the most afraid, and he was like, "Why are you afraid of me? You think like I'm gonna get into like drugs or something? I have better priorities. I want to be successful like you guys." That's what he tells me. He's like, "I have. Why did you even think that way?" But like, I was naturally worried. Like a little
When
more
you some
cautious.
situations with Snapchat
Yeah,
that
with
made me I said I will
Snapchat.
never allow my child to
Yeah,
have Snapchat. And when he asked for it, I was like,
yeah.
now my
And
child.
I'm the one who actually said yes to it.
But
But
it took a while. But
yeah,
also another thing was
but
if
but like but like
oh,
we took him out of private
I was
school
gonna say that. Actually you read my
because
mind.
because we wanted to let him experience
The
the
world.
peer pressure, that everything's going. There are people in their schools that vape. A lot of kids. There are people that have laced vapes. There are people that had overdoses on
I think it creates a really good
drugs.
communication. So like my mindset with like removing them from private school from like this shelter well, I don't want to say
Sheltered.
sheltered environment, but like from this kind of like environment where they're very secure and safe and like it's you guys whatever you want to do with your kids do it please like whatever it's your decision. I'm
Don't ask
sharing
us
my
for permission.
experience. Yeah, I'm sharing my experience. The reason why I wanted to remove them is because I really want my kids to be at home and it would create conversations when they go off to college.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time for conversations, it's too late. So we want them to be exposed to all of these things. Doesn't mean that we're guaranteed that they're going to be perfect. We were not guaranteed that, but we're willing
Yeah.
to take that risk
I wanted them to
because,
make those steps, not me making it for them.
yeah, but also it allowed us to have conversations. When a child got over OD'd in his high school, in our kids' high
Mm-hmm.
school, was because of laced of whatever vaping. It created a conversation piece for us. We had an opportunity to talk to them about it. So I just, in general, I feel like it creates a lot of conversations, no matter at
But
what age they are.
and I think a lot of parents, and this is what happens, they're overprotected because they're afraid the kids can mess up something. But the problem is you have to be, you can't just, obviously, you can't just give them the phone and say, do whatever you want with it. Let them do whatever they want with their friends. You have to spend a lot of time with them. And
And
this is
knowing
where
their
it's,
heart, yeah.
yeah, super important. This is why we said we have to start at 10 years old at least to spend a lot of time with them. That way, when you introduce them to like, those public
That
schools or
tends too late.
those friends, well, maybe in some regards, but like when you introduce them to a lot of those things and they have kids around them that use drugs, you maintain that relationship. You talk to them. You spend time with them every day with them, speaking about it. And then you end up making those right goals, and you lead them. You develop a character where they themselves choose to take steps in the right direction.
And I think this spending time together, like the society is so busy, we're so busy in general. Like we never have family dinner time, which I would love to have, but it's not, we never were able to figure out a schedule that would work for us. But we find this like little time opportunities that we talk to kids. So it doesn't have to be this perfect formula.
know
If you can have family dinner time, I am so
you're pushing
envious
it.
of you. And
You had a
please do
couple.
it.
Had a couple.
We used to do breakfast on the weekends, and we even like failed that.
Breakfast works like a lot. It's a lot more viable for us. I feel like breakfast.
No longer works.
Well,
Now we do it like
work
at least
more.
once a week. We go out together, but it's still like it's
Dinner was like
we never made it happen. So now
Couple
the way
times.
dinner looks like in our family, you guys might be shocked. I make food. It sits in a counter, like in the kitchen counter, and people just like a buffet style come whenever they feel like, whenever they don't feel like. At the
You
end of
know
the day,
what
I clean
works?
the kitchen.
you know what works if you grill some steak. Oh, that's
It's true. Maybe I should grill steak every day.
Everyone's gonna be downstairs. Oh, we could smell
That's true. At
it.
the same time, because you have to eat steak right away.
Has the best protein for you. So like that's
Okay, steak it is. Okay,
Yeah.
do we wrap it up?
Yeah. We can.
We sound like the most perfect parents, you guys.
What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret? I wish, well, I loved having kids very young, like truly loved it. And I have zero regrets about that. I wish I didn't rush. Like, so this is speaking on behalf of the fact that our oldest is in senior in high school. I wish I didn't rush. Oh, I can't wait till they're doing this. I can't wait till they're this. I wish I enjoyed every season, and I stopped myself with this because there was Easter egg hunt this year, and I was thinking, man, all those parents with kids that are doing Easter egg hunt, I'm so jealous of them because our boys are not doing Easter egg hunt anymore. Like I
It's like
just,
watching the same movie again. I have too much of that.
I want the same movie. So I wish I didn't rush the seasons. I wish I enjoyed it more and was more intentional about. I don't even know if it's possible, but I wish I wasn't rushing for the next thing. I feel like, my personality is like, what are we doing next? Why are we sitting here? Let's go to the next thing
Yeah.
constantly. So, yeah, that's
don't
my
have-
regret. So, enjoy your babies while you can. Even annoying little babies, they're just so yummy and enjoyable. So, enjoy them.
I love having
Jim's like, peace out.
we good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Actually, you know what? One more thing. If you're still here, thanks for listening to Land. Please give us your best advice. And we tried to make this podcast as positive as possible because somebody told us like they were getting married and they were like, I'm getting married and everybody says how hard marriage is. Can you share your best tips
Somebody
or
actually
like,
walked out to me and said, "Tim, don't get married. It's so hard. I'm telling you, everybody's faking."
yeah, but like that person was traumatized right before marriage and she asked everybody to share like positive things about marriage. Can everybody? This was my intention with like this podcast. Is like parenting is hard. It's not easy. But like, can you share your best tips, your most positive
I feel like
stuff?
just people that are having issues are the ones complaining. Everybody else that hasn't been good. You know, like how you you leave reviews when something really sucks. I think people are just like complaining when they have.
No, or
bad
they're
kids. But people with good
parenting
kids,
is
they don't.
hard.
People with successful families don't comment as often. So if you have a good family, if you have something
But
good
it's
to
still
share,
hard.
yeah, if you have something good, parenting was easy. Come on, is it hard?
Good for you, honey. It's
Wasn't
still
that-
hard.
No,
I don't know. It was hard. And screaming kids were screaming. Okay, you interrupted my whole point.
No, but leave us something positive, right?
Yes, share your most best advice, best
Yes,
tips,
that's what I was
best thing about parenting. I would love to hear it. I'll be happy to read all those comments.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for listening. Bye.
Piece of cake. You're kidding.
Parenting was hard.